I put cayenne pepper in my water, so I might be kind of like a little like. You live in LA, you do all kinds of weird stuff for your health, you know, like people get obsessed with one thing. They'll be like, have you heard of cayenne pepper?
I'm gonna do it every time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. So we actually have a guest today. Mike, what is your last name?
Agostini, Mike Agostini.
Is that Italian?
You know, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I thought I was Italian, and then my dad thought he was Italian. His dad died when he was really young, and so we grew up Italian. And
you're not?
0.07.
That's so wild. It's like living.
Name. Yeah.
It's kind of like Steve Martin in The Jerk. To where did you ever see The Jerk?
Sure.
Yeah, Steve Martin gets adopted by a black family, and he thinks he's black, but he's white. You know, you grew up thinking you were Italian.
Yeah.
Did everybody do the Italian mannerisms, like yelling at each other at the dinner table?
Yeah, talking with your hands and all that.
Yeah.
It's definitely strange.
Greeks do that too. My uncle married a Greek woman, and they like scream at the table. It's not
they
talking.
They bring plates
slightly.
too. They bring a lot of plates.
100%.
Yeah, when they get married, I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greeks are loud people.
So, but then the question remains: since you did the DNA test, what were the results?
Irish, a little bit of English, and some German, and
Nice.
Believe it or not, I am 1.7 African.
Yeah, that's my man.
I felt it. We had
a connection like that. I knew something was there.
That's why you got those NBA player hands.
Yeah,
Hold those hands up, dude.
Exactly. Yeah,
Dude,
woo,
we got to do
hands.
this. We did this off
Yeah.
camera. I don't want to get too much like, but here, let's do the creation painting where it's like the guy with the blanket.
Yeah. Are we doing the hands?
Yeah.
Dude, look at
All right.
Oh my
look
God.
how much
And then
bigger his
we
hands.
played with the ring. Here's my wedding ring.
Yeah.
Look at this
Put
right
this. Yeah.
Can you guys see this? Dude, this is a guy who has good classroom management. With hands like that, kids are not going to act up in your classroom. That's
Not
why
at all. Not at all.
they're the same size as me. Look at this ring on here.
Put it on your thumb.
Dude, I could probably punch one of my students and I wouldn't even get in trouble because they'd be like, he was picking on the teacher. Dude, that is I can fit that around my head.
Those some big hands, man. Those
are huge
Those some
hands.
huge hands.
I would brag about that all the time if I had hands that big. I'd be like, hey, can you get me that water? It's like, where is it? It's like right over there.
But yo, he's an
That
all
always
around solid dude. You know what I'm saying? Solid.
Thanks,
Just solid all around. You got big feet too. What size shoe you wear?
12. That's
There you
not-
go. He
12.
beat me.
wanna
I'm
do the
11.
feet?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
12's not that
Dude, I've never felt like Gulliver's Travels. You know what I mean? I can just fit in a pocket in an overalls. So
Now, actually, what's really interesting? No, you ready? To stay on his hands.
Yeah.
He actually told me a story. I don't know if you'd want to share it about a time that your hands almost got you in trouble with. Not got you in trouble, but a handshake almost went really south very quick.
What?
do the guy's hands just turn to dust? You
No,
shook his
he
hand?
pulled it back in horror.
Because your hands are so big.
No, apparently I gave him a normal Pacific Northwest handshake, and it was just a greet and meet, and it was at a show called The Tonight Show in 2008,
Oh,
and
heard
I
that
was
show.
standing in line, and the guy comes up and they try to. Not, the show's not on anymore, but they used to have a pit right by the stage, and they would send 8 or 12 people in there because they liked your look or this or that or the other thing.
Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, we want you to shake Jay's hand. He's going to come down. Hey, how you doing?" And so they picked me, and I was the very last guy. He shook my hand. He's like, "Hey," yeah. He gets to me, and I stuck my hand out there, and I squeezed too hard, and he went, and he gave me a look. It was very
Like
Mortified. It's like Lenny from Of Mice and Men. You didn't realize your
what are you
own
doing?
strength.
Go ahead. Yeah.
His hand was the mouse.
anyway.
You just crushed it.
What do you guys got
awesome.
here? This is a show about Teachers Lounge, not
It's
my
a
big
show-
ass
yeah.
hands.
But you know what, though? That all goes in to this because we're getting to know what would it be like if
We
this
like
was
to
the
start
whole-
with body parts around
We
here.
start with body parts.
That's how we start our show.
That's how we
with your
start.
hands
Yep,
and feet.
you know.
That's
I
how
do
we
have a
it.
stupid people trick.
Do you?
What
What
is
is
that?
I was going to save it. Apparently Saturday we're going to go to his friend's house and they like to watch MMA. But I wrestled for so long and the ligaments in this finger, I wrestled for almost 30 years. I just retired when I was like 44.
Oh,
And my finger got messed up. All the ligaments on this side are just shot. And so every now and then it'll dislocate, but I don't know when it's going to do it. So when I compete or do anything physical, I tape these two together because I don't know which camera is going to pick this up.
yeah.
But
Exactly.
it'll.
Oh, God.
Dude.
Wow.
And
That's like called
but
that
double
ruined my
unfortunately,
night.
That's called like
Hold
double
on.
jointed. Yeah.
I can.
You guys are lucky.
Oh.
We have to blur that out.
Oh.
It's like, did he pull it? Did he pull a private
Hey,
part
you're
out?
not
It's like, no,
even
it's his
looking.
finger.
Are you-
Yo, listen, I saw him see the hand. Wow.
I want
would
our producer
lie.
to come back. Alex, can you come back here and look at this?
I will lie to
Did you see
everybody.
it?
Yeah, he's looking for the camera.
No, it was like,
I will
Anyway,
lie
that's
to
my
every
stupid people
person.
trick.
dude.
But
Like,
David
look what you did
Letterman's
to
not
me.
anymore.
I will sue everybody. Look what you did to my hand, my finger. I will
Yeah,
sue
you know what I
everybody.
thought about
Yeah,
that? Slip and fall and just pull that up and
exactly.
make some money.
That's
man.
Oh
amazing.
my God. Yeah. the
That's a
lawsuits.
great way to not like. That's a great way to not get like. Well, no one's gonna mug you anyways because you're a big dude. But
Yeah,
like,
but-
you know, if you're walking with that, they'll be like, "Let's leave."
I would
this."
get pity from all girls. Look what happened to my finger.
Yeah,
I
it's
would
like a
get
great
pity.
way. And be like, "Oh,
Yes.
you poor thing."
So that's just
Exactly.
from,
Let me
just
help you.
from getting it hurt so many times. It's just lost all the ligaments. But
Did you ever coach wrestling?
I
when you were
did. I
teaching?
coached in high school when I was teaching high school. I coached wrestling.
So you taught high school, not middle school.
I taught when I started off. This is going to date me, guys, but I started off graduated from a small school,
Mhm.
private school in Pacific Northwest in Washington called PLU, Pacific Lutheran University.
Okay.
And that was in 1984. And I got my first job right away in teaching
Okay.
history in a junior high school. And I still remember my first contract. It was $14,400.
Wow.
I know. That's
I
what
don't
this
even
guy
think
makes
you
a
can
month,
buy
I
a
think.
Prius for that much.
I know. It was crazy. But yeah, I loved it. I loved the kids.
Yeah.
Taught for 12 years. And from there, I moved on to a junior high school, another junior high school, then to a high school, coached wrestling there. And then I ended up, tell you a couple stories tonight eventually, but they both pretty much relate to that high school experience. And then I ended up at an alternative school, which was, the misfits and the people that didn't fit in, and they were my peeps. That was the last 6 years of my career, and I loved every second of that.
Yeah,
That was
I
awesome.
feel
Do you,
like.
think,
Did
do you
you
feel
get
like they?
Yes.
Do you feel like they wanted it more at that school?
The kids, that was the last thing before they got booted out of everything. And then
Absolutely, that's the last
sometimes it was
straw.
for behavior, but sometimes they had a kid. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's a domestic situation at home.
Absolutely.
You never know why they were there, but
Okay.
they were all screwed up.
Mm,
So that made them all the same.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
get that.
And so
yeah.
it was really
Yeah, what's the
Awesome.
hierarchy at a school where they're screwed up? Like, is it just like these are like the knife throwers over here? These are the ones who have grenades over there. Like, how does it like? Did they all kind of get along, or was
believe
like,
it or not, we
how
had
was
a
the
lot
groups?
less discipline problems.
Yeah, because
Everybody
yeah,
could relate, and we had homeroom. And you were assigned these kids, and it was a very small school. Probably only had 200 students in it.
Okay.
8 teachers. But
And
I
this
do
was
have a
middle
quick
school?
story. High school.
Oh, this is high school.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this was towards the end of my career. That's where I ended up. So that must have been 1996.
Okay.
And there was a kid named Thomas, and we always would just slap each other in the chest. Hey, Thomas.
Wait, you would do
Sorry.
that to him when you were a teacher?
Oh yeah, but
Dude,
this
with
back
those
in the
catches,
day.
did you ever
probably
actually
hurt the
knock him through
kid.
the wall?
You probably
Oh, yeah,
knocked
we
the
do all
breath out of him.
kinds
Yeah,
of
yeah. It's like,
all
coach,
kinds
stop
of
it.
crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
This is back in the day when you could,
Yeah.
Now it's assault. What do they know? So we would just slap each other, and so hey Thomas, how's it going? And I hit him in the chest, and it was not a human. I'd hit a piece of metal. He had a 45 caliber semi-automatic,
Ooh,
Right here.
Ooh,
and we
yeah,
both looked at each
yeah.
other, and I said, Thomas, and I said, man,
Wow.
and I saw only him and I knew, but he knew I knew. So I took him in the hallway. I said, Thomas, I go, Mr. Agostini, these guys are going to come to the school, man, and I got to protect myself. And so I was serious. I said, come into the bathroom. So I walked into the bathroom. First of all, I looked at the owner's or
Uh-huh.
the teacher's manual
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
under
yeah.
G, and I found gum. It said nothing about gun.
Gun.
This was back in the good old days when you could bring a gun to
this is
school.
the 90s.
Big
Yeah,
dumb
yeah.
joke.
It was a really
Everybody's all
problem there.
woke
Yeah.
now.
But bringing an armed student into the bathroom by yourself, I don't think is in that manual.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's crazy,
Yeah.
dude.
So I brought him into the bathroom. I said, man, here's what we're going to do. I got a plan. And because I'd always tell the kids, man, make a plan, follow the plan, stick to the plan, you'll be good. And so here's my plan for today. I'm going to take that gun. You're going to give it to me. I'm going to go down to the principal's office and say I found it in the restroom, like someone was taking a dump, and they left it there.
They left their gun, as we sometimes do.
Absolutely.
Can't do that, Mr. Agostini.
I'm not about
Can't
it.
do that. The kid came in. I said, hey, you need to go to the principal. So he goes and gets the principal, and he walks in. And so I walk him back because he wouldn't give me the gun. I wasn't going to wrestle him to it. And then I walked him into the office, and I go back to my room. Now the guy's in the office with the principal, and
With the
about
gun.
10 minutes later, the phone rings in my office, in my classroom, and they said, there's no gun. He doesn't have a gun. I go, well, he had a gun. Well, he doesn't have a gun now. And I'm like,
He
well,
hid it.
Good for you. Thomas had a plan. Years later, I didn't run into Thomas, but I ran into his best friend. And he goes, Mr. Agostini, you always said you had to have a plan. Well, here's what we did. We knew Thomas had the gun. We knew that you had him in there. So we started fighting each other in the front of while Thomas was in the principal's office, we started beating each other's, like a big fight.
Wow.
And he ran out of the office. Meanwhile, Thomas opened the window and handed the gun to Billy, and Billy ran down the street and put it back in his dad's drawer.
That's dope.
Good for you.
That's
This
dope.
honestly sounds
So smart.
Yo,
that's
this
crazy.
sounds like some 90s shit. Though.
Yeah, no,
That is some
it
90s
sounds
shit.
very, very, very
That's some
90s.
90s shit. That's some 90s shit. Yeah.
Anyway.
That's insane. I mean, those were the good old days. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That was back before school shootings, to where somebody would just be like, yeah, I'm going to bring my gun. What's wild about that, though, is like when you were there, like, how often did something like that happen? Was that like just a regular occurrence? It's like, hey, I told you can't bring your AK to math.
Fortunately, not shootings were in our school. And you're right. It wasn't as big of a thing back then.
I mean, what
there
was
were
it
shootings.
back then? Like,
there
what was
was
the-
Crips and Bloods, and that's what this was about. He was a Crip, and there was some Bloods coming to.
Oh, so this is in the hood.
Yeah, Lakewood, Washington, and
Okay. Makes sense.
and then one day, Mr. Agostini, so it sounds kind of crazy now, but apparently I was a legend because of it. So there's these 5 guys in this car, and they're coming up, and they all had guns, and I didn't see the guns, but I knew they were coming, and the kids were like afraid. And so I walked out there, and I said, "Hey, roll down your window."
What the fuck you said?
And then you just show them your hands.
I must have. Maybe that's all.
They just roll his window
Dude,
in his
I feel like
hands.
your hands
I
could
said,
block
yeah,
bullets.
Try this wedding
He's like,
ring
excuse
on.
me.
Try this wedding ring on.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, and I was, hey man,
Yeah.
I know you guys got something going on, but the cops are literally about 30 seconds behind you. So I don't know. Maybe you should just go somewhere else. Oh man, thanks. And they took off. So anyway,
Yeah.
that teacher's pretty cool.
Yeah, teacher's awesome.
Yeah, they could probably
So
protect
anyway,
you after
but
that.
yeah, there was some trouble, but not overall, just awesome.
Okay, I want to ask you, that's the craziest story I've ever heard a teacher say, like in my entire life.
Which one? About telling the gangbangers?
Yeah, Thomas and the gun. The legend of Thomas
Oh my
and
God.
the Thomas and his 6-shooter.
I was
Yeah,
proud
yeah.
of them. I
That
thought it was ingenious on their part to create a distraction, pass the gun out the
100%.
window.
They had to think
That
about
was
that.
that was like something from like a 90s movie.
yeah, absolutely.
But what I want to know is when you were teaching middle school back then, I want to know what the comparison is to now, because like Chris and I teach middle school. Zoe deals with elementary school kids. And a lot of times it's the same with elementary school kids. They can't self-regulate. You know what I mean? Like that. It's like as soon as you give them like any free time, you turn their back, they just go nuts. Was it like that in middle school back then? Because I wonder how much of it is the era that we live in of people being constantly stimulated, or if it's just always been like that. Like you turn into
wave.
like,
Yeah.
the puberty werewolf touch it. Like well, that sounds really bad. I go the puberty werewolf visits you, and then you just turn into like this monster.
I think that
You know?
I think if you think of how long teaching has been going on, and then you compare the notes from the people in the way back machine to now,
Uh-huh.
they're all you nailed it with it's behavior that is natural, that they're squirrels in
They're
junior high
squirrels.
school.
Yeah.
They're gonna, you know, Mr. Agostini, and then poke you. They like to do the poking,
Mhm.
Yeah.
get your attention. And then from there it comes to high school, and then they're too afraid to look uncool, and so they mellow out and sit back. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and but on that curve, what regulates it is the discipline and what you allow them to do. So
Yeah.
and what get away with, and do you have any support from the administration? And if you have weak administration, then you're gonna have problems. And I see today, and I hear stories from some of the teachers of the things you're not allowed to do. I mean, you tell me if this would get you fired today. So it's Lakes High School.
Yes.
No,
The answer is
listen,
yes.
Thomas
Yeah, tell me
Story.
if this would get
Listen,
you
let me say
fired.
something. Thomas Story. You could not do Thomas Story right now. Okay, that Thomas
Yeah.
Story.
I mean,
I think this one's a little better. So
Yeah, yeah,
What kind of era are we in if you can't just have a heart to heart when a kid brings a gun to school?
well, this is an example. So this kid's walking down the hall. His name, God, Kevin Tope. Kevin Tope. If you're hearing this, and
I'm
Kevin
gonna look
Tope
all
is
these people up on Facebook. Is
walking.
Thomas still around?
Yeah.
I'm gonna friend request
Well,
him.
that I don't
I'm gonna
know.
tag him in the clip.
But Kevin Tope is, and so he's walking
Kevin
down the
Tope?
hall, and it's like 2 minutes after the bell rang, and I'm standing outside my door, and I'm going, hey, Kevin, it's the third time you've been late this week, man. Hey, what's going on? He goes, I'm just having a really bad day, Mr. Agostini. I go, well, let's spice it up a little bit. I go, I'm going to go into the classroom, and you're going to walk in, because kids don't know you're out here. You're going to walk in, and I'm going to say to you, Kevin, this is the third time you're late this week, and I want you to blow up. What are you talking about? I don't care, Mr. Agostini. Blah, 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 blah. Just do something like that. He goes, oh. And he goes, then what are you going to do? I go, well, I'm going to come over and punch you in the face. He goes, what should I punch? No, I'm not going to really punch you in the face. You're going to hold your hand up like this. And so the camera, their eyes are the camera. It's only going to pick up this. So you're going to pop off. I'm going to go, what? What did you say? I'm going to walk up to you, and I'm going to go,
Hold on.
and you're going to fall down.
Hold
He
on.
goes,
Wait,
oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
He said, "Oh wow,
we did it. We did it.
So,
he act like he punched you.
Dude.
No, I punched him.
Wow.
I don't know how you didn't lose your job.
That was the funniest thing.
Pretending to like lose.
It was funny. And the other kids were like,
Why'd you do it? Why'd you do that one more time? I
Yeah,
missed
what was your incentive, dude?
For
To-
doing that.
it was a joke. After the shock of the initial, after the kids are like, holy crap, I'm never being late to Mr. Agostini's
Gotcha.
class again.
Oh my god.
It was a joke. He got up, we hugged, and everybody was like, oh man, that was whatever. And of course, yeah, it was kind of stupid.
That's
but I was
funny.
26 years old.
I agree
Yeah.
with that though, because like the thing is
But
like
that's
if
how you bond with the kids. though.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's how you
Dude,
bond.
if you go to
Yeah.
a school where people have had like a
Yeah.
rough life or rough, like kids appreciate when you don't tiptoe like that, when you can like you can do something like that.
I wish
Like,
we could.
I'm totally for that.
You act like you want
In this case, you know what it did for him? I don't know what personally was happening, because he's normally a jolly kid.
Yeah.
He was sad that day,
Mm.
but he wasn't sad
For his-
after that.
After
that
He was
made
laughing.
him look
He,
good.
he forgot everything that he was making him sad.
Yeah.
He wasn't sad no more. And that was the whole point of it, just to have some fun. We had a student teacher once.
Okay.
Oh my God. I just remember this. And we were just talking about student teachers. And she comes in, and it's like day 2 of her being there, and she's a little bit late. I say, hey guys, you want to have some fun? I go, we're going to tell the student teacher that it's random stand up and get frisked day. And the principal ordered it. And you all are going to, when I say, okay, assume the position, you're all going to stand up against the wall and lean against the wall. And then I'm going to start searching the guys, and I'm going to tell her she's got to search the girls. And then we had one kid with a video camera.
That is hilarious.
We did that
Right? You're
too.
the coolest teacher ever, yo.
I used to do
You had to
handstands.
have been.
Yeah.
I used to do handstands on the desk.
Really?
Well, I did until one time.
You
this
bust your
kid-
shit.
No,
No.
it's a trust game.
Okay.
'Cause you know how desk works. If I'm on this desk, I'm gonna sit here, and I'm gonna lift myself up, and then I'm gonna launch my legs in the air. If that guy gets out of the chair, I'm gonna flip forward.
Interesting. I like that.
Ah,
I like
yeah,
that.
so
Problem
it's like-
is,
I like that.
I did it for about 5 years, and then one kid decided to
Not
be
do it.
funny to.
Dude, didn't you get so pissed
Oh
when
my
he did
God.
that?
I said, yes, I'm very disappointed, Mitch. You violated my trust. I'm never doing that again. And I never did. No, I was pretty pissed. I
Yeah,
said-
hell yeah. You
I
hurt
said something
yourself.
like, what the hell are you doing? Or something.
Well, so I want to know this. Going back, what was it that made you want to be a teacher? Because for me, I can only speak for myself. They have their own things too. I got into teaching because Los Angeles is expensive. Teaching historically pays horrible, but in LA at LAUSD, it pays pretty good.
Yeah.
And it was like, for me, it was something that I felt like I could do. I do like kids. So it was like necessity. So that way I could keep pursuing my dreams and my goals. And there's a lot of people that I notice in LAUSD, they start teaching later. So you said you were in your 20s. Was
Yeah.
that like the goal? Like straight out of high school, you're
But
like,
also,
I want
he's
to be
a,
a teacher.
he was a teacher coach, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you're a
Okay.
coach too.
I graduated when I was 24, and I was fortunate to get a job right away. So, but it wasn't really about the money. For me, it was, I always enjoyed kids and my sense of humor, and I thought I'd be and I enjoyed history, so I became a history teacher. Certainly wasn't about the money, but it was about the amount of time off that it gave you in the summer. 'Cause
Summers, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I would
And you
always
get paid.
I would always
for it.
paint houses or do something to make a side hustle. And so by balancing that with coaching, the stipend wasn't that much back then, but it was enough. And so you could live decently, but I liked having the freedom. What brought it to an end in 96 was I was at that alternative school, and we had a principal that was just
Horrible.
yes.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the
to the point
admin,
where
the admin was what crushed it for you. That
for
doesn't.
me, yeah. And
Luckily, I have good admin at my school, but like sometimes, so
It could be bad sometimes. Yeah.
yeah. So what happened with this principal? What was so?
we don't have a ton of time other than she was just a bully and somebody that enjoyed making other people's lives miserable if you got on her list. So, and I just
Where do
after
you think
a while
that comes from with
people-
admin? Why do you think so many so much admin are like that? Because I hear
Well,
horror stories. With
I've
different
got
people.
a great answer for that.
Hmm.
So there's a saying in a book that was written: "Those that can't teach."
Yes.
But we all know that's BS because those that can't teach become administrators.
Yep.
Good point.
100%.
Usually people laugh at that.
No, they do, but I'm also thinking of what you're saying, and I'm
No,
like,
it's a good point though. It's real.
There are some administrators, and when you get a good one, my gosh, you're so fortunate, and they're fair, but it's a power game, and the old adage of power creates corruption, whatever.
Yeah, it was
Rest of the-
absolute power corrupts
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Because there's no one to check them.
it's just funny just picturing an administrator like Scarface with a mound of cocaine,
harnessing
like
their power.
just harnessing their power just in the
Yeah.
back office in the principal's office.
So that ruined it for me. I was the middle of the day. There was a half day for the kids, and then I resigned and came home and told my wife, and
I'm done with this. Yeah.
yeah, she was
Well,
not
did she
happy.
support it? Was she like good?
No, man, we
She's
had
like,
3
hell yeah,
kids.
about time. Yeah.
She didn't work. She was like, "Get your ass back there."
I want to hear
You
what
ain't doing your
happened.
job.
I want to hear what happened after that, but like super quickly, did you ever experience, like you said it was 14 years?
I taught for 13
okay.
years, almost 13.
Okay, so 12, almost 13. Was there ever a time in that time that you felt like burnt out, or did you just like, was teaching kind of like this weird fun space for you to where you just always enjoyed it? Were you ever like, oh gosh?
Yeah, there was. It would come and go. But when I got to that alternative school, I was kind of regenerated a little bit because we had the freedom to do things
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Differently, unorthodox.
unorthodoxly. Hey, we're going to take a field trip. Okay, sign the van out. And most of these kids are 18, so they'd all sign themselves out.
Yeah.
And we'd go to learn about the spotted owl by driving an hour and a half to the
Different
coast of
feeling.
Washington.
Absolutely.
And talking to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
lumberjacks.
yeah.
That sounds like so much fun, man.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah.
Back then, did you guys have professional development?
You mean as far as teachers having to continue their education?
Well, there's a thing called professional development on Tuesdays that teachers have to go to pretty much at all schools in California. Did you guys have like one of those like teacher meetings and
Oh,
stuff
we
like
had
that?
meetings all the time. We had meetings about meetings. That's one of the things I didn't like.
Meetings about meetings is true.
But yeah, and then I basically from there, I got out of teaching, and then I ended up getting into other things in my life.
What was the next thing like after? Were you relieved? Was there a part of you that was relieved when you got out?
Believe it
You
or
kinda
not,
like-
the next day after I went back, and they said, "No, you resign. That's too bad." Blah blah blah.
Too late. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though I tried to tell them, "Hey, this person's a bully and she's terrorizing,"
So it was like a breakup with a girl, and you went back and you're like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I slammed the door."
Yeah, but her father said no, so it was the superintendent. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's all right. So it was it's hard to describe. The next day, I felt free.
Yeah.
You know, like I had chains on me,
Yeah.
and suddenly, the world, I could do anything I want. I could do anything I want.
Absolutely.
And every day since then, I've done whatever I want.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle. I had to do all kinds of odd jobs. And
For how long? How long did that last?
probably a good 8 months or so until the summer came around.
Okay.
And then I was able to start painting houses. I formed a construction company. So I did that, and then we had highs and lows, and managed to live a great life. I met this young man because my wife is always allowing me to chase my dreams, and I always wanted to be an actor. So I came down here in 2006. Of course, the writer's strike happened 2 months after I got here.
Yeah.
So I didn't get much acting in, but I was a stand-up comic before that. I went to an open mic, and that's where I met Chris, and we hit it off. And I had a small part to play in you becoming a teacher, didn't I?
Well, before we get into that, I knew this is how I knew that he was a guy that I wanted to get to know, and then I knew he wasn't a comic from Los Angeles.
Good.
You ready?
Okay.
He had jokes.
Mm.
He actually was telling like solidly written jokes on stage and not just up there. Do you know
Just
what I mean?
ripping.
Meandering and
Yeah.
ripping.
So, anyways, yeah, like there's a lot of. Are you still doing stand up?
He came prepared. Yeah.
You know, I don't. Are you all three of you comics as well?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Actors as well. We're
Yeah.
actors too.
Stand up
What?
and acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
That's,
got are all SAG members too?
I'm SAG. Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm SAG almost by accident because do you guys remember when AFTRA was merging with SAG
Yeah.
over a decade ago?
Yeah.
There was an actor that was actually kind of a well-known TV actor that would come to this open mic. And then, so I just asked him, I was like, Mark, is it worth joining AFTRA to get in SAG? He goes, do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have the money. So I put it on my credit card.
Dope.
So that's how I got in.
Oh, 'cause
Interesting.
It's so expensive to be SAG right now.
So
to join.
you're not still
Yeah.
living in LA though.
No. I
You're-
came to LA to this time around to see my friend Chris, and also to
Dope.
visit a former student of mine whose house had burned down in the fires, in the Eaton fires.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait. So where you living now?
Tacoma, Washington.
Okay. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to get a gig. There was a big conference, and I'm working with the Army Corps of Engineers, and
Okay.
I may get a contract. I might just come down and help in some form or another. But so yeah, it's pretty devastating. I actually drove by his house today, and
Mm.
it's incredible. And it's interesting. Let me ask you guys this: you live 20 minutes away. Have you been at least to Altadena?
No.
No, I haven't
haven't.
because I don't think my spirit is ready for it. But it's bad.
You're living through an historic time. There will
Yeah.
never be a fire like that in the
Never.
history of the United States again.
Yeah.
You owe it to yourselves or your grandkids, because they're going to ask you, and then they're going to go, "What were you thinking? You're 20 minutes away." You all three should get in the car. It will change your life.
Really?
To think, my friend said that when that fire hit, and it hit up on if you've seen the videos, it hit up underneath the power lines, probably a mile from his house.
Okay.
From the time that hit those lines until the time that they had to leave their house was about 18 to 20 minutes,
Wow, spirit that fast.
because the winds were carrying it so fast. And
Yeah.
and the fact that not so many people died there was a few trying to defend their homes, but it'll change your life. If you go, please give me a call, or you have to see this, because you can't get to the Malibu one. That's too tough. But you can drive right through and see all of this. And you can also see the reconstruction, the cleaning up of the areas that's
I'll do that
starting.
with my girlfriend this
Altadena,
weekend.
right?
Altadena, man, 23 minutes away
I
without
might go check
traffic.
that out. Okay.
And yeah, it's incredible to think that.
So one of your students, what's interesting is, so he was in Washington. The student was in Washington.
Yeah, I got a story
And
about him too. Go
So-
ahead.
But the one, so this was a student from California or a student from Washington?
No, he was I brought it along with me, if this is okay.
Totally.
I can't read it because even though I'm this huge guy with big ass hands,
There's some things you can't do, is what you're saying.
I cry. I cry too much. I'm not as bad as that guy that used to be the Speaker of the House. What was his name? Whatever he was.
Oh,
Uh,
that
do you-
cried?
Yeah, every time he cried everything. I'm not that bad.
Okay.
Now, who wants to read this for me?
Would you like?
I'll read it.
There we
Okay.
go.
This is like a class right now. It's like, who wants to
Yeah.
read? And it's always
All
like,
right, now this is something.
Frank.
Well,
Yes,
this will
go
happen
ahead.
to you guys. This will happen to you years from now. That you'll be sitting around, and all of a sudden, maybe it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever they had then, Truth Social. I'm just kidding.
I
But
don't even know what
someone
that is.
That's
is going to
Trump's,
send you a random
social media platform.
text,
Uh-huh.
a message, and it'll make you may be teaching, you may not be teaching, but it's going to make you. It's never some random text that says, "Man, you were the biggest jerk ever." Blah blah blah. It's never that. You'll never get that.
Okay.
Those people don't write you,
Okay.
but you'll get one like this, and it'll make you think everything you did, every sacrifice you made, all that time you spent
It meant something.
meant
I got
something.
you.
It was worth it.
For somebody else.
All right. So this happened. You can read the date it happened. It's right on top.
Okay. All right. February 22nd, 2016 at 12:42 p.m.
And realize I had stopped teaching in 1997.
Okay. This was 2016.
20 years. Basically.
My apologies
Yeah.
for messaging you out of the blue, but can I ask you if you taught at Lakes High School during the 1989 to 90 school year? I'm asking because I've been trying to relay a message to a Michael. How do you say your last name again?
Agostini.
Agostini. Okay. That taught high school U.S. history for the past 15 years. I took U.S. history in my senior year of high school. I actually took AP U.S. history, but I wasn't cutting it, so I was moved down to the regular class. I was the only Samoan kid taking AP classes back then and felt out of place pretty often. Getting kicked out of the AP history was the first time I ever came close to failing a class. I was feeling pretty dejected. But before I was moved down, I was told to meet with Mr. Agostini first. I sat there while he introduced himself by doing a handstand on the desk. He then talked to me about what my future plans were after high school. I would say he reassured me that I was smart, but I think he was the only teacher at Lakes that actually told me so. He said he expected a lot out of me and not to let him down. With that challenge, I excelled and aced the class. Only as an adult could I fully appreciate what those turn of events did for me. I was surrounded by jocks, gangbangers, and drug dealers. Most of my friends went into the military, and a quarter of them went to jail. Bombarded by messages telling me to keep my expectations of life low. Wow. Mr. Agostini was one of the few instances where I was asked to invest in my future. I don't want to simplify my life experiences to just my U.S. history class, but I also don't want to downplay the impact it had on me. If you are that Michael Agostini, please know that you have a fan for life. Best, Ray Samoa, MD, Assistant Professor, City of Hope Department of Diabetes.
Wow.
That's awesome, man. That almost makes me cry,
Let's clap it
dude.
up for that, man.
Yeah.
That's big.
Dr.
That's
Ray.
big.
Isn't that
That's
awesome?
big.
Dude,
Wow.
that's cool. That's like
Doctor,
something
that's
out of a
big.
movie.
So-
you read that kind of stuff in books and you don't really believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
because it's very that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really amazing.
It's amazing. And you didn't even know the impact you had on the kids at the time because you was doing it from the heart because you care for people.
Yeah. You know, that's what,
Yeah.
that's what, and I know if you're worth your salt and you're a good person and you're a teacher, that you're having an effect and you may not even know it. I don't, honestly, if I'm thinking, I kind of remember him coming in. He looked sad. So I was trying to cheer him up a little bit but I could tell he was special, and that's all I did. And yet it literally put him on a path to be something. I mean, he's
successful. Yeah.
he's the doctor and his husband whose house burned down that I'm.
Oh, okay.
I talked about earlier.
Now it makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
So it all comes full circle. But yeah, to me that was pretty nice. There's a
Yeah, that's
dope.
beautiful, man.
Let me ask you then,
That's beautiful.
when you look back, whether it was college or a coach or someone who had an impact on you that was similar, like someone that just inspired you or changed how you looked at something.
I don't have early memories of those teachers. I do a few. Probably my wrestling coach was Joe Reasons, and a legendary coach for wrestling, and had some incredible record of going like 12 years in the junior high level with teams and never losing a single dual match, which is insane. I was on the state champion team with him as well as my coach. So he's probably the most influential. A little bit of a sad story for me, if I'm being honest. He was somebody who says my father was, he had some issues, Korean War veteran, post-traumatic stress. So we'll leave it at that. So he wasn't, super dad.
Wasn't chill.
It wasn't very.
He wasn't
Yeah,
a chill
yeah.
dude.
Yeah,
So-
so you're saying he wasn't chill.
So I didn't have a great family life growing up,
Mhm.
but Mr. Reasons was somebody that I really did identify with. He's very positive and he's very motivational and rah, and that kind of thing. And I mean, it might seem corny today, but that's kind of what I needed. I needed that structure because I was getting in fights all the time and getting
Absolutely.
in trouble. And wrestling was I could pop people
outlet.
down and they'd clap for me and raise my hand
Yeah.
instead of arresting me.
Did you ever
Exactly,
lose a
exactly.
wrestling match?
Oh yeah. I won 95% of them, but I
Of
could
course
tell.
you did,
I
dude.
could
You're like a
tell.
moral-
I could tell. He's
So
doing the
anyway.
hand move right
Yeah,
now.
he's
spinning
doing that right
around
there.
the
It's
hand,
just
the
like,
hand. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he just passed away. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Oh,
he
rest
was
in
a
peace.
good dude.
R.I.P.
We didn't stay in touch much after high school, but he was probably the most influential.
So can I ask
Yeah.
you a question? Do you think being a coach help you be a good teacher?
No. I think they're two different worlds, really, because
Do you think you can be a good coach without being a good teacher though? Because it seems so similar.
Yeah.
You're coaching. You're still teaching.
Because I feel like when I talk to a coach, I feel more connected. I can relax more when I'm talking to a coach than a teacher. Me personally, from my experience, I grew
I
up
can
playing
understand
football
that.
and basketball, but I felt a better connection with a coach than a teacher because you just open things up as a coach. Like that handstand, that's not a teacher thing. That's a coach thing.
Yeah, he's right.
That's a coach thing.
Some
You know
very
what I'm
coach.
saying? So-
That is very coach.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think you could be a really crappy teacher, and then I don't know if you can be a good coach. I think they're similar. I think kids are so. Like I met a guy. Was it yesterday? Yesterday,
yeah.
out of the blue, he got one of these contracts, and this whole thing for me coming to here was to get some work and to help, and I've invested quite a bit of money in a truck, and I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to kick some ass and start picking up those ashes, and I have a hauling company.
Much respect for that too.
Yeah, so I know I could do it, but they're seeming. But I met this guy, Latin dude, and he just popped out of this awesome truck, and he had this great big giant trailer, and it said tree service, and they said, well, if you do get lucky, you need a tree cutter. And anyway, long story short, shout out to Sal. But the minute you talk to him, I can see, I have this ability. I don't know what it is. I can tell a person, and I don't see a glow. I don't see none of that, but I can tell you're a good person.
Mhm.
Not sure about this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Just
He's-
kidding.
yeah,
I'm
he's
just
the-
kidding.
He's the
Jacket.
biggest asshole out the group. No, he's
No.
yeah,
Yeah, dude.
everybody in
when
here
a
is
homeless
solid.
guy's holding
No,
out
he's a guy.
his
Yeah.
cup for change, I just spit it.
That's you
Yeah.
should spit
An
it. in.
awful person.
Yeah.
So,
No.
but kids can see that. Kids know right away.
They
And if
know.
you try to fake it, like that principal I used to work for, she was so phony, and the kids are like, they could just tell.
Yeah,
you know, it's like the invasion of the body snatchers. If you've ever seen that show, everybody else is walking around, and go, "Hey, what's wrong with Bill? I don't know. He's having a bad day." And the kids are going, "That's not my dad, Bill. That's
Yeah.
that's somebody else."
That's such a good point. They do that all the time. Kids their intuition is better than adults because
Totally.
as an
Oh my
adult,
God.
you get so much stuff crammed in your mind that it's dull. But the one thing that the kids have above all, even if they're learning how to read, is they can sense energy
Absolutely.
better than almost any. They're like cats and dogs in
Facts.
that sense,
Yeah.
to where like they just feel energy. Like a
Mhm.
dog does that. Kids will do the same thing.
And they will
You know, with them.
respond
Absolutely.
when they know you're being genuine. To them, that in some cases it might be the first time.
Yeah.
For Ray, that was the first time for him.
Mhm. Yeah.
And someone's being real, and he could tell that you really care about me, and that you can't. To me, teaching was never about just learning the 3 R's or this or that or the other thing. I always felt I'm that guy's uncle, that girl's dad, in a positive way. I'm somebody that will care about them. When I talk to them, I'm going to be in the moment. I'm not looking down this or that or the other thing. I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm responding, and I'm not being fake about it.
Absolutely.
I'm just being real. And for some people, that's all they need.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to ask you
So-
a question about teacher jargon real quick, like classroom management, because you're a very likable guy and I could see where kids would really, really like you. But did you have to implement that, or was it that they could feel so much of your concern for them that there was just naturally like a respect? that
You
was
know,
there?
It was never. We all have good and bad days, and I'm sure that I was the worst teacher they've ever had. You know,
We summarize things very
I'm not
easily.
painting
yeah.
myself like I was this god or something.
You weren't. What's that famous teacher's name?
Oh, Jaime Escalante.
Yeah, you weren't Jaime.
Which, by the
Escalante.
way, I met someone that worked with him, so I
Said he
know
was
the
a
real
monster?
story.
I want to hear this
Now-
right after.
now here's
we
what
go.
here's what I heard
go.
you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You worked with somebody who was high on mescaline.
Wow.
Jaime Escalante, high on mescaline.
No, what did you
got
say?
that.
What did you say?
Jaime.
Jaime Escalante. You don't know.
Oh no, that's not what I heard. I swear, I'm not
Yeah.
being funny. I said, yeah, I worked with this
I
guy
get
that
it.
was
I
high
thought
on
this was
mescaline.
like, I thought you were making like a vaudeville joke, like high
No.
on mescaline.
No, what are you guys talking about?
Jaime Escalante from Stand and Deliver.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like
the
a
actor.
famous teacher.
Okay,
No, about the teacher Jaime Escalante.
Yeah.
right.
I want to hear that.
And he
right
was-
after
Yeah.
the,
Was he high on mescaline?
No, he was
Jaime
not.
Escalante was high on mescaline.
He was high on his ego, from what I understand.
Okay, so
You lost me at the bakery. No, but no, kids can figure it out. Kids can they
After
feel
finish it, yeah.
just like you, and you meet somebody who's fake or you don't outgrow that. It's just that kids have
You
it on
just know.
steroids.
Yeah.
I've witnessed that because like the kids in my class, I feel like I'm sure there's some that hate me, but most of them do really like me. But that sometimes somebody will come in and say something to them, and it's really weird. I'll watch the kids look at them,
Mhm.
and they'll just be so disrespectful to like that person, like they hate that person,
Right.
and they've never met them. It's like a weird thing to where
Mhm.
sometimes kids. And I'm not saying that kids are justified in doing that, but sometimes they do just pick up on energy. Like we collectively don't like this person.
Right.
Absolutely.
But the thing you guys don't have that I did have was that, and this would be my last resort, was to send someone to the principal's office.
Yeah.
But you guys either don't have that or they won't come, from what I understand from talking to young teachers. Or if they do come, it's, what did you do, teacher? Why is he acting like that? What did you do to cause him to throw the desk through the window?
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's his dad smoking meth in the living room that's causing him to do it.
What do you guys, when you guys lack that discipline in the classroom, it must make your job almost impossible.
Yeah, so we live in a world now where, because of lawsuits, the one kid who causes all the problems gets to destroy the education of the other 24 other
Facts.
students in the classroom.
Facts.
100%. It's always just one kid in the classroom. One
One-
to two.
one to
I got
two.
one kid.
Yeah.
It sucks because I did like him, but I had to get him kicked out of my first period. And when he got kicked out, that class
Yep.
was one of the worst classes. That class is awesome now. It was one of the worst classes all day. I dread going in first period. Now that
You
he's
start
not in there
everything.
anymore,
It's
class
way
is
different
awesome.
energy. Yeah.
And your kids
It's like-
are younger by
Yeah.
nature. They're manageable.
My school's like kindergarten to 6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. They're just fun. They're just goofy all the time. You know what I'm saying? But those are easy kids to get across to.
Yeah, I think the middle
Yeah.
school is when they really become behaviorally a
Ego.
challenge.
7th grade.
Yeah.
7th grade.
Ego gets
seventh,
formed
8th
then.
grade. Yeah. They're fun kids.
Super quick, not to divert that, but just because we were talking about Jaime Escalante, what was the story that you heard?
So
And you tell him
the part that
who Jaime
actually goes
Escalante
to
was.
talking about not being able to throw kids out of class and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So from what I was told from someone that actually was there, is that Jaime Escalante got away with a lot of things that teachers couldn't get away with in other schools. So he went and handpicked all of his students.
Oh.
And he would kick out students that were like, it's like he was, what is it, Jack Welch of GE? I cut the bottom 10%.
Mhm.
You
It was
know,
like fantasy baseball.
yeah,
with
he would just
students.
cut the bottom 10%, and he would kick people out. They said he said, if you watch the movie Stand and Deliver, the most realistic thing about Jaime Escalante is when he yells at a kid to get out of his classroom. He goes, the other stuff is a little bit made up. And
So why did he get this legendary status then?
So because number one, you need someone to get behind, but two, he actually did what I think anyone can be successful if you're allowed to cherry pick and pick all of your students,
Yes. Yeah.
and and he was teaching AP calculus. I go, guys, I took calculus in class, and I was only in the honors. Imagine what kids' behavior was in AP calculus. Now, I'm not going to discount all of the work that he did put in with those kids. He did put in a lot of work, but he was like a charter school. He was able to.
But he controlled the narrative.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was able to get the best kids in the
because
class.
he got such so much fame from it, right?
Yeah.
It got to the point where he was able to do it even more.
Yeah.
And admin kind of just looked the other way and were like, well, it's blah, 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 and just let him do it.
He's winning. Yeah.
And then also he told me, the same guy told me about the Freedom Riders. The Freedom Riders girl was student teaching.
What's Freedom Riders?
There's a movie
Freedom
about
Riders?
it.
Never seen it.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a movie about it. Yeah.
And she taught one creative writing class. All she really did, and we always joke about it in education, is like, yeah, all you need is one good class that you have nothing to really do with. It's awesome.
All the kids pass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you write a book about how amazing and life-changing it was. And then you go on book tours and make a movie out of it.
Yep.
So Jaime Escalante, that's
yeah.
So he was getting the cream of the crop of students, which, well, I'm not saying he wasn't a good teacher, but that can make anybody look good, honestly.
AP
Dude,
calculus?
as a sub,
Yeah.
dude, as a sub, when I would go to an elementary school that was like a gifted elementary school,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, dude, I feel like an awesome teacher here, even though I'm just sitting there and talking to him about like Stranger Things and Cobra Kai. As a sub, but
I
they were
wish I
just
could
such
pull
good
up
kids.
when I played in high school basketball, right? When we played against St. Raymond's out of the Bronx, I wish I could pull up their lineup, and they were the most undisciplined team, but every single player was a Division I player. Like 3 of them made it to the NBA. Guys, how good do you think that team was? They were practically ranked in the country just off of sheer ability. They didn't even. They were
natural.
Yeah, they didn't even have great coaching.
Wow.
I think that's why parents have such unrealistic expectations of teachers, is because of these movies. You know what I mean? Like Dead Poet Society, Goodwill Hunting, and then Stand and Deliver. That's like, it's hard to live up to that if you're in like a Title I
But part of the
school.
problem is when you actually want to do really good work, there's a bunch of red tape in your way. So that there's the flip
What do you
side
mean by
of it.
the red tape?
The school
So
system.
the thing is, like, if you really think about it, when people talk about charter schools and they say, oh, I hate charter schools. Well, I go, yeah, but also, guys, in some ways, especially in the hood, that's the only way you can get kids that are actually performing really high away from the kids that are just bringing them down.
Yeah, the negativity.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to
Absolutely.
like, and that even creating a charter school was a very hard thing to do in Los Angeles Unified, because teachers unions don't want to give up power. People want to be able to control things. It's that crabs in the bucket mentality of like, well, I can't have one group succeed. I'm going to try to keep everyone kind of down. I mean, God, you can't even give, you think about like, you can't keep a kid into recess or lunch just to like, hey, you don't understand this. Let me get you an extra 10 minutes of tutoring. Now
Yeah.
you're denying them an equal right to a lunch. My grading scale's a 20% is a passing grade now. It's a D.
Eesh.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
the thing is, it's like all these things are working against you. So when you go in and you do a damn handstand, you are making the big difference.
Hell
And that's
yeah.
actually in your control.
Yeah.
Because if you think about like, for me, is like when you said, I think about that as like, hey, if the kids come around to actually wanting to learn, that's awesome. But my job is trying to make school a very welcoming place for them.
Where they want to come.
Yeah,
they
to where
wanna
they
come.
feel comfortable.
And that's what it was when you did that with the doctor who you had no idea was going to be a future doctor. Think about that. He got kicked out of his AP class. This is a guy who becomes an MD. What if he would have had a terrible teacher? Right? And
You know what I did?
And Dad, you don't know what he's going through at home at the same
That's
time.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know. And so what I tried to do from day one when I was teaching for that 12 years is I wanted, and most of the time I was in a multi-class, it might be U.S. history, and then it might be an art class in the afternoon or whatever, but it was never the same thing 5 times in a row or 6 times in a row. And so I always would try to make sure that out of all their choices, they looked forward to coming to my class, even if it was just a little bit. I didn't have to be their favorite class, but I didn't want to be that class where they come in like, oh God, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Because they do say that. And I didn't want to
to.
ever be that guy. So I was never, in some cases, I was probably some people's favorites. I don't think I was ever anybody's worst class, but just getting them motivated and getting through the door just seems to be. How much time do we have left?
We got
More power
about
five.
6 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a
What
couple
time is-
more quick stories?
Please,
Yeah,
I would-
your
we
stories
love
are the
that.
best.
I need some popcorn.
Why are we
right now.
talking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We need to
Please
sit
hear
and
stories.
learn from your
So-
class.
I call it the roar of the whisper.
Okay.
And because talking to Ray, and a Samoan, I love his name, Ray Samoa. Hope he doesn't mind. me
And
telling
wait,
this
is he
story.
Samoan?
He's pretty Samoan.
Yeah, Ray Samoa the
He's
Samoan.
Hi, this is Mike Italian.
Yeah, he's Italian. It's like I never would have guessed.
kid.
But that was a whisper, and it turned into a roar. But I didn't
Uh-huh.
know it was going to be a roar. Another case where that happened, it was, and people can Google this if they want to. Look up a kid named Melchor, Melchor, Manabusin, from Guam. And Melchor came to Lakes High School, and he wrestled for me. And we called him. I said, "Dude, he's never wrestled before, but he was a fighter. He was always fighting people." I said, and that's why I found him. He was fighting. I said, "Dude, you're on the wrestling team." So I drug him in and he was awesome. He was so fun to watch. But he was like the Tasmanian devil because he had no skills. He knew a couple things. But he would just, he was just yeah, like remember the Tasmanian devil? He's just
Uh-huh.
And so that was his nickname. And it's so fun to watch. And a month into the season, wrestling season is very long where I'm from. It's 4 months long. And a month in, comes to me and says, "Mr. Agostini, we have to go back to Guam. My grandmother passed away. My family wants to relocate." And he was devastated. And I gave him a speech that I've given to other people, but I knew that he could do this. And I said, "Man, you're special. The way you wrestle, I know you don't know what you're doing, but I think you could be amazing. So I don't want you to quit." Do they have wrestling in Guam? He goes, "A little bit." I go, "Well, you go there and you make it something. You get some buddies, you get some things going on." And this is where I get choked up. And I didn't hear from him for 12 years or so. Coach, I just won the the Pan Pacific Championships, which involved Japan
Wow.
and China. He had gone and lived his dream. And every day or every match, he would say, he'd say a prayer, and then he'd say, "This is for you, coach." And they'd go out and wrestle so like I was with him. And look what that son of a gun did. Look up his wins. He became an MMA fighter. Now he's got 2 schools, MMA schools in Guam. One of these days I am gonna go visit him. Hey Siri, what time is it in Guam right now? Hey Siri, what time is it in Guam right now?
I'll try. Let's all ask Siri. Siri, what time is it in Guam right now?
Hey Siri.
3:44 p.m.
This is like the worst commercial for Apple, right, guys? This is an Android commercial.
After his heartfelt story, and we're all like, "Hey Siri, what time is it in Guam right now?" Let's go.
What time is it in Guam right now?
It's 3:44 p.m.
Yeah, 3:45 p.m.
Oh, I don't have
344.
Melker's number in my phone. Dang it, I was gonna call him. I need a new phone. I lost some of my contacts. So that's the roar of a whisper.
What's his first and last name again?
Melchor, Melchor,
Okay.
Manabusin, Manibussan.
I'll look him up.
Yeah, look him up. He's
That's
got
awesome.
a coffee company. He's doing so well. That's the roar of a whisper. But I want to end on this because I don't think all you're going to be able to recover. I'm going to tell you something I haven't told a lot of people other than my wife, and hopefully I can get through it. But I was young, man. It was if not my first year, it was my second year. And I was at Woodbrook Junior High School and had a bunch of kids. It was first day of school, and they're all lined up. It was a gym class, and so they're all lined up. We're not suiting up that first day, and just going through and Joe Blow, Jane Doe, blah, 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 and Jimmy, my penis is a friend or something. It's a weird name that ended up sounding like something else.
Mm-hmm.
I mutilated it.
Oh.
Ha ha ha! The whole and there's poor little Jimmy, just head down, bummed out, and I felt like this tall. And so afterwards, everybody left, and I said, "Hey man, hang on a second." I said, I have a name a lot of people can't pronounce. I go, I feel so bad for that. And he goes, "Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for apologizing." I go, "Yeah, man." And I said, what, 2 cents? Are you new here? "Yeah, I'm Army brat. We just moved in, and it's always hard to go to a new place and make friends, you know." And then sometimes people laugh at my name, and that doesn't make me feel very good. And I go, "Oh man, that'll never happen again. If anybody, you come see me. I'm big Mr. Agostini. I'll take care of him for you." He goes, "Oh, thanks." Flash forward 2 weeks. This is back in the day when you could do this. I walked into the restroom and I'm using the facilities. It's and then he was in there first. I came in, and I have to clear my throat really quick, guys. I walked into the restroom. He was there. He's using the facilities. He was urinating, and then he goes to the counter, and I go to the stall where he was previously, and I'm using the facilities, and he's staring at me. He's washing his hands. And he gets to the door, and I can see him from my peripheral vision that he turns, he stops, and he's looking at me. And I go, "Jimmy," I go, "Is everything all right?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well, you better get going. You don't want to be late to class. You're already kind of late." All right, Mr. Agostini. And that was on a Friday. And on Monday, excuse me, principal calls me in and says, "Have a seat." And I said, "Well, what's going on?" And he goes, "One of your students is Jimmy. Let's call him Jimmy Swanson." And I said, "Yeah, new kid." And he goes, "Yeah, he killed himself over the weekend."
Oh man.
And then his parents wanted to thank you. Because in the suicide note, he said, "I wish I would have met Mr. Agostini sooner. I think he could have saved me." Yeah. And that was my first year teaching. And so every year after that, I looked for those people. I looked for the people that were bullied, the people that didn't have friends. And that's why we're not just teachers. That's bullshit. We're not teachers. We're everything else. We're friends. We're family. We're,
Best friend.
100%.
you got it. We're their guardian angels, and that's what makes great teachers. The teaching thing is secondary.
Dude, yes. With that, I don't know if we can even top that. Like honestly, like that's honestly like that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story.
Thank
All
you.
your stories, man.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Big
that.
Kevin Hart.
Big Kevin Hart.
Thanks, you guys, for having me. This was fun.
No, dude,
you
this was
rock.
amazing. And
Thanks,
honestly, you inspired every single person in this room.
Oh, I appreciate
Because and the people watching. It can't that's one of the yeah, that was amazing, man.
it. Thanks,
Thank you.
brother. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Like, we've had some good shows, but this is the most inspiring show,
I think we've done. Yeah,
It's
easily.
Very inspiring.
100%.
Yeah, the most inspiring one, hands down.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, everyone.
All right, guys. God bless.